Welcome to the Butterfly Effect. I'm Chris Horner. This is stage 5 of Dauphine, 162 kilometers, about 100 miles in length. When you're looking at today's profile, you always got to focus on the finish of the stage. And with about 25 kilometers to go, there's a category 4. Following that up with 15 kilometers to go with another category 4. The first climb's not so difficult at about 4%, just about 2.5K if I remember correctly. The second climb, though, is a whole nother ball of wax there because it's about 1.8 kilometers and at about 5%. And remember, if the average is 5%, that means there's always some pitches in there that are going to be a little bit steeper. So you know it's going to be an exciting final here on stage 5 of Dauphine. Now, when the racing begins, there's 4 riders up the road. It's Benjamin Thomas from Cofidis. Jan Bakeland's my old teammate, raced with him with Radio Shack days. Now he's riding for Intermarché, and he's the highest rider in general classification, but still just below about 4 minutes back on the GC. Now, he's got some company because Schoenberger from B&B Hotels is tagged along, and we saw his mug earlier on the earlier stages here of Dauphine when he was in the front brake. Last rider in that group's Fabien Dubé from Total Energies. Now, those four riders had one other rider for company, and it was B&B Hotels, Pierre Roland, with his teammate Schoenberger already in there. Pierre was in there earlier and then dropped off after he grabbed some KOM points. So now we got 4 riders in the front group, 70 kilometers to go, and their gap's about 1 minute and 45 seconds. Now behind in the peloton is Bike Exchange, of course, chasing because Dylan Groenewegen doesn't have a stage win, and he wants some redemption here on stage 5 of Dauphine. They got a little bit of company because it's the Chris Harper show again here at Dauphine. From Jumbo-Visma, this cat, he has been riding on the front basically this whole week at Dauphine and doing an amazing job. Chris is up front pulling like a monster up there, and we start seeing the time drop massively as the front group with that minute and 45. Their time gap's going to drop down to almost about a minute with about 60 kilometers to go. At this point in time, when I'm sitting on the couch, I'm like, oh, yep. This is Wout van Aert stage for certain. They got this stage wrapped up 100%. But let me remind you guys that Jan Bakeland's up front. The Belgian rider, my old teammate, been on his wheel many times. This boy can pull, and he can pull hard all day long, and that's what this group of 4 up front's doing. Jan Bakeland's looks like the main engine power up front, and that time gap goes back up. Now with that time stretching out to about 2 minutes and 10 seconds now with 40 kilometers to go, I'm getting interested when I'm sitting on the Chesterfield because at 2 minutes and 10 seconds with 40 kilometers to go, and remember, it's a lumpy, twisty, bumpy finish all the way into the finish of today's stage 5. Up front, when the breakaway hits the climb, they got about a 2-minute gap on the peloton being led behind. Chris Harper's done an amazing job on the front, but they have not been able to bring this time gap back down. With that gap over 2 minutes, that group of 4, they're going up this category 4 climb smooth and well together. Behind, we're going to start seeing some action because Chris Harper leaves the front and comes out the back of the peloton, and it's Team Ineos on the front. They're driving hard. Filippo Ganna, the time trial winner from yesterday's stage, is on the front, blowing the race up. He's trying to bring back the breakaway up front and trying to set up Ethan Hayter, their sprinter, for a stage win here on stage 5. Ineos are drilling it hard. They're not getting any help at all. Up front, when they go over the KOM, the group of 4, their gap, they lost about 30 seconds. They're now at about 1 minute and 30, and we got just about 22 kilometers to go as they crest this KOM. They'll drop down the backside, but the road will never flatten out. It's up, down, twisty, left and right throughout the final of today's stage, like I was telling you. And behind, Team Ineos are drilling. They're not getting any help, though, from any other teams. Even Jumbo-Visma, they have Wout van Aert, who are hoping to win today's stage. That's assumed. That's why they are pulling throughout the whole stage. They're not helping out Ineos either. When we get on the final categorized climb with 15 kilometers to go, it's still Team Ineos on the front. And then when we're almost to the top of the climb in the peloton, Dylan Groenewegen, Bike Exchange, comes out the back. He's got one teammate with him. I don't know why he doesn't have 3 or 4 with him, but at this point in time, Dylan Groenewegen is swinging off the back, and he only has about a minute more worth of effort if he wanted to stay with the peloton as he's coming out the top just before this KOM. Now up front, when we go over the top of the climb, Steven Kruijswijk from Jumbo-Visma, he got on the front and started pulling hard, and when they went over the KOM, he handed the reins back over to Filippo Ganna, the time trial winner from yesterday. Filippo Ganna, world time trial champ, is on the front, drilling it down the descent. He's got the peloton strung out for about as far as you could possibly have it. And you look at the picture, it's a windy, twisty descent. So you know Bike Exchange back there are going to have a hard time getting back up to the front group if it's Ineos Filippo Ganna drilling it right now. Now up front, just after that final last categorized KOM, there's still one more bump left. And it's Jan Bakelans from Intermarché that's throwing down on the pedals. Dubé from Total Energies is coming out the back. He gets gapped. Now it's 3 riders going over the top of the climb here to start the descent, with Bakelans on the front and then handing over to the reins to the next rider behind. Dubai will find his way back up to the front of those guys, and that might cause a little bit of problems because the time gap now is getting narrowed at just about 40 seconds. Behind, with Ineos and Jumbo-Visma pulling now, we're going to start seeing some chaos because with about 8 kilometers to go, the time gap's at 36 seconds, and it's Thies Benoot, Jumbo-Visma, looking over at his teammate Christophe Laporte. I'm sure he's asking him, what should I do? He'll slot up and just slot right behind Ethan Hayter, so he's still not taking a pull. Moments later, when we look back there again, it's Steven Kruijswijk. Kruijswijk's looking over at Wout van Aert. Sure, he's asking Wout van Aert what to do. Wout van Aert gives him the nod, and Steven Kruijswijk eventually will pop up to the front to help out Ineos again with about 7 kilometers to go. The only problem is when Steven Kruijswijk comes to the front, you got to remember, Filippo Ganna had been pulling from 26 kilometers to go and pulling 100% up both the last 2 bergs here on stage 5. Now Steven Kruijswijk's getting to the front when the road is starting to go up again. We see the tongue drop out of Filippo Ganna, so you know Steven Kruijswijk's going 100%. Bad tactic right here to start pulling on the climb when you've been sitting on for a bit and other riders haven't, because once you start pulling hard on the climb, the draft isn't that great. Filippo Ganna is suffering big time. Steven Kruijswijk's at the front trying to close this gap. He's doing some damage to the gap up front as they get it under 30 seconds. Now that group of 4, when we go up there, every time when we look up there, Dubé may be doing a little bit of work up there, the Total Energy rider, but he's not doing enough. It's mainly Jan Bakelans that's throwing down every time there's a little rise in the road. With Dubai sitting on the back, you got to understand that there's going to be some tactical games that are going to start being played, but we just don't know when. And the time gap now, which is coming down slowly, but it's still at a doable time when you go back to the peloton and look at the time gap at just about 30 seconds. Now, when we come into 3.2 kilometers to go, this is a crazy little scenario. I'm going to show you tons of pictures because at 3.2 kilometers to go, just as it's Thies Benoot pulling off the front, you're going to see Christophe Laporte look over at Thies Benoot. He knows Thies Benoot's done. He's going to look back at Wout van Aert and ask Wout van Aert, I'm sure he's going, hey, this is looking ugly. It's 3.2 kilometers to go. The gap is still over 20 seconds. Wow, what are we going to do? Is this another stage 2 fiasco here on stage 5 of Dauphine? Are we going to have a repeat, or are we going to be able to close this gap down? Wout van Aert gets on the radio. I'm sure he's asking for his super GC rider, Primož Roglič, Jonas Vingegaard, to come to the front. Up front, just 100 meters after that, with Wout van Aert on the radio, it's going to be Filippo Ganna pulling off. That leaves Michael Kwiatkowski as the sole rider on the front with a 20-second gap still up to the 4 leaders. With Filippo Ganna pulling off, Hayter's going to look over at Filippo Ganna and give him a wave. I don't know what this wave means. I don't know if it's looking over at Ganna and saying, please, Ganna, do something more because we only got Kwiatkowski on the front, even though you've been pulling for 20K 100% all out throughout the final of this stage 5. I need a little bit more out of your bro. Please get to the front. Kwiatkowski can't do it. Then finally, when the cameras come back to the peloton, it's Jonas Vingegaard from Jumbo-Visma that's on the front. He's pulling 100% trying to close this gap. With 1.5 kilometers to go, it's Primož Roglič, the big GC favorite here at Dauphine to win the overall. He's on the front for his teammate Wout van Aert to give him a shot at winning here at stage 5. He'll pull all the way into about 1 kilometer to go. Up front in the group of 4, they got about a 10-second gap on the peloton behind, and they still got a legitimate shot here of winning stage 5. Now, when they come under with 1 kilometer to go, up front, we're going to see Dubé. He's going to pull off the front, and then Jan Bakelans knows with 900 meters to go, somebody's got to pull. The Intermarché rider, my old teammate, starts getting on the front and setting some tempo. With 400 meters to go, it's the Cofidis rider, Tomas, that throws in the first attack. Only problem is, in the back of the peloton, They're attacking at 4, but the peloton is starting to attack with 500 meters to go. They're only about 75, 100 meters behind the front group of 4 now, and it's Christophe Laporte leading out Wout van Aert. You'll see him go from the left side of the road to the right. He starts to catch the tail end of the front breakaway at 4 with about 300 meters, 250 meters to go. It's Christophe Laporte. He's attached to the back of the group now, starting his acceleration. Up front, Benjamin Thomas has got a little bit of a gap. Jan Bakelens is trying to close the gap desperately. Now with about 200 meters to go, we'll see Christophe Laporte. He'll throw the chicken arm out there as he flicks out his right elbow, hoping that Wout van Aert has some fantastic legs to try to finish off this stage 5 with a victory. Now with Christophe Laporte pulling off, only problem is Wout van Aert is moving to the left. Christophe Laporte wanted Wout to go to the right. Wout's going left. They're almost touching. Now we back the film up just a little bit more because as Christophe Laporte passed the Ineos riders, Hayter slotted onto Wout van Aert's wheel. Now the problem is at about 175 meters to go, just as Wout van Aert started his sprint, Hayter, the Ineos rider, he's getting swarmed. He's got Jordi Meeus on his left, and he's got Milano, UAE team member, it's on his right. And on top of that, he's got Christophe Laporte dropping fast in front of him as Wout van Aert goes to the left of Christophe Laporte. That's the route that I'm sure Hayter wanted to go, but he doesn't have that option anymore because it's the Bora Hansgrohe rider, Jordi Meeus, who's filled that spot. Now Hayter starts to go right. When he goes right, he's going to overlap wheels there with the UAE team member, it's Milano, as he almost takes out the rider. Hayter starts his sprint, has to wrap around the Christophe Laporte's wheel. Only problem is now Wout van Aert's going full steam. Had a little bit of a hiccup when he brushed there with his teammate Christophe Laporte. Now he's going full down the left side of the road with about 100 meters to go. Guess what? Breakaway rider Jan Bakelens is in the lead, but so is Wout van Aert. Jordi Meeus is trying to fit up the left side of the road between the barriers and Wout van Aert. 25 meters to go. Wout van Aert and Jordi Meeus, they come together and they're bumping hard to see who's going to win this stage 5. And then it's a bike throw from Wout van Aert that takes his second victory here at Dauphine on stage 5. Great finish to today's stage. Was a great stage to watch when I first turned it on, and the gap went from about 2 minutes down to 1 minute with 60 kilometers to go. I thought this race was over. But then when it crept back up to 2 minutes and 10 seconds, I knew with Jan Bakelens anything's possible because that Belgian rider pushes on the pedals like just about nobody else can do here at the European peloton when you're talking long breakaways trying to go to the finish. Let me remind you guys, he wore the yellow jersey at the Tour de France. Now, afterwards, the interview from Wout van Aert, he said the breakaway just picked up speed throughout today's stage. It was a super nervous final, and at the very end, he wasn't for certain if they were going to bring that group back. But here's the problem. Let me rewind the tape for you guys like I love to do here on the Butterfly Effect. When we go back to 60K to go, when that time gap had dropped all the way down to just about a minute, Wout van Aert's at the back of the group. He's at the back of the group from 60 kilometers almost to about 52, 53 kilometers, and he's back there having a picnic with Steph Cross from Lotto Soudal. Now, this is what I'm talking about with the classic riders always riding at the back. With 60 kilometers to go till 50 kilometers to go, you're never going to see a guy back there that's racing for GC hanging out back there having a picnic with one of his friends back there as they're drinking Cokes and sharing laughs back there. And the time gap up to a 4-rider break that's being led by Jan Bakelens is increasing throughout the whole time when they're enjoying their picnic back there. That is why when you listen to the interview of Wout van Aert and he says that group of 5 went so fast, it wasn't that the group of 4 up front went that incredibly fast. It was that the peloton behind slowed up, started going curb to curb, and Wout van Aert wanted to socialize some more. At this point in time, Wout, when you've already lost 3 stages, now, when you think about it, you're saying, Chris, you're being a little bit harsh, right? Well, we all know he should have won stage 2. We all know stage 3, that with that sprint and he didn't throw his bike to the line, that he should have probably won that stage. The time trial, okay, it's a toss of the coin. No one knows if you can beat Filippo Ganna. But you come into this stage, you could have had for sure 3 stage wins. You could have had the bonus seconds from that. And then, of course, if with a little bit of luck and a little bit of timing, maybe you win the time trial, this might be 5 stage wins in a row. Instead, it's just 2 stage wins here at Dauphine. And let me remind you guys, to win 5 in a row or even 4 of the first 5 stages of Dauphine is a legendary feat. Now, I'm not saying Wout's not a legend because we all know he is. But when you see the interview after the race and he starts talking about how that break got away, he's not right. That break got away because you're back there having a picnic and not paying attention to what's going on in the race and who are the front riders in the break of Jan Bakeland's drilling that train up front of 4. Now, was a great stage. You guys got to go back and watch it. Certainly worth watching from the beginning. But if you're in a hurry, go back to about at least 15 kilometers so that you can see Dylan Groenewegen from Bike Exchange coming out the back. 8 kilometers to go, that discussion between the Jumbo-Visma riders, that was classic. And 3.2 kilometers to go to 3 kilometers to go. That was magical because there was a ton of information going on right there between Ineos and Jumbo-Visma, all arguing or discussing, I should say more accurately, about what was going to happen on today's stage, when it's pretty easy at that point in time. Put your guys on the front, whoever you got left, and try to win the stage. Instead, they make it a nail-biter all the way to the finish with 100 meters to go. Wout van Aert comes through the win from a bike throw from Jordi Meeus to make one exciting Stage 5 Dauphine. Now, tomorrow's stage, we don't know what's in store, right? Is Bike Exchange willing to put their guys on the front again? I don't think I'd do it. I'd play my guys in the break. Dylan Groenewegen doesn't have the legs to make it over the climb. And in all honesty, his teammates don't have the legs to bring him back up to the front group. So it doesn't matter. If I was Bike Exchange, I would no longer try for a field sprint. I'd try to put guys in the break and hope all the GC guys let the break go all the way to the finish. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next edition of the Butterfly Effect.